A couple weeks ago, I reviewed the Galaxy A56. Today, I'll be reviewing its younger sibling, the Galaxy A36, about 4 months later. I reviewed the A35 last year and basically said it was a really good, boring smartphone. I said it was good at basically everything, not necessarily the best, but good. And then I also said it has really good software support. To me, that was its special feature. The Galaxy A36 is still all of that. It's really good at everything, not necessarily the best. And then it has really good software support. Now, of course, the A36 is not exactly the A35. Samsung did make some changes to this phone. In fact, they made a couple good upgrades and then one big downgrade. We're going to talk about the downgrade first, and then we'll talk about the upgrades. With the A36, Samsung decided to remove SD card support. So you can't use a micro SD card with this phone. If Samsung did this and then increased the base storage to 256 gigs, I think I would have been fine with it. But no, the base storage is still 128 gigs. For a phone that's supposed to last you for a really long time, 128 gigs of storage is very little. Like, people would fill this thing up in 3 months. So yeah, to me, that's the big downgrade, and I think a lot of people would agree. Samsung either needs to bring back SD card support, or at the very least, up the base storage. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's continue and talk about the rest of this phone. Design-wise, there is a change. We get a slightly new design. Instead of having individual camera rings like we did on the A35, we now have 3 cameras in one module. The A56 and A26 also adopted this new design. We're not sure if this is going to be the new A series look or if it's just reserved for the high-end A series devices. I guess time will tell. But yeah, this is the new look of the A36. For colors, we get 4 options. I got the black, which looks okay, but I find myself having to clean it a lot because it shows a lot of smudges. You'd also notice that just like the A35, we get a glass back on the A36. The only difference now is that both the front and back glass are protected by Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. I would still encourage you to put a case on your phone because if this phone drops, it will break. One more thing I should mention is that the frame on this phone is made of plastic. I don't mind it at all because even with the plastic frame, this phone still feels very premium. Another somewhat premium feature this phone has is an IP67 rating. Now, there are cheaper phones that I've reviewed with higher ratings, but IP67 is still very fine. It would protect your phone from most accidental water incidents. Buttons and ports are in their usual positions. We have the power and volume buttons on the key island, which is on the right. On the left, there's nothing. Up top, there are 2 mics, and then at the bottom, there's a speaker, 2 mics, the USB-C port, and the SIM card tray. So yes, that tray you're looking at the bottom is just for your SIM cards. There is no SD card support on this phone. I know we've said that already, but I really want people to note this before they go ahead and buy this phone. Now, this phone might not have SD card support, but it does support eSIMs, which not a lot of mid-range phones do. So it's nice that this one does. For biometrics, the A36 supports face unlock and fingerprint unlock. The fingerprint sensor is under the display. It's an optical sensor. It's fine. And then lastly, the A36, although it doesn't look like it, has stereo speakers. The first speaker is located at the bottom, and the second is in the earpiece slot. The speakers are actually very nice. Overall, I would say that the A36 is a good-looking, well-built phone. Its build quality and in-hand feel is up there. This is a phone that doesn't feel cheap. I mean, it's not cheap, but it doesn't feel cheap, which is a good thing. Another good thing about this phone is its display. This has a 6.7-inch 1080p Super AMOLED 120Hz display. As you can see, this is a good-looking display. You would also see that there is a lot of bezel around this display. There are cheaper phones with smaller bezels than this. So I know for a fact that Samsung could have made the bezel smaller on here, but they chose not to because they want you to pay extra to get smaller bezels. Anyway, putting the bezel size aside, the A36 display is actually really good. It's sharp, color accurate, it's vibrant, it's a good looking display. It's also a bright display. It peaks at 1900 nits, so it's brighter than the A35, and it's also more usable under direct sunlight. The A36 display is also quite smooth. The animations and scrolling are quite smooth on this phone because of its high refresh rate, but I would also add that it's not always smooth. There have been a couple times where I've tried to use this phone and I've noticed it's laggy, like when I scroll, it's kind of choppy and not smooth. It doesn't happen all the time, just sometimes, but I still think it's worth mentioning. Now, I don't think it's a display issue, but really a software issue, because I've noticed this on other A series devices. Even the A56 I reviewed, I noticed this as well. Hopefully it gets fixed. Sticking on the topic of software, the Galaxy A36 is running on One UI 7 based on Android 15. One UI 8 is already out. I have it here on the Z Flip 7, but it's not yet available on the A36. But I do know it would be coming to the A36. How do I know that? Well, the Galaxy A36 would be getting 6 years of major Android updates. No other mid-range phone, except maybe the A56, gives you this. Like, this is flagship level type of support. It's quite impressive. But if I had to complain, I would complain about timing. One UI 8 has been out for about a month and it's still not on the A36, and it might not be for a pretty long while. So hopefully Samsung improves on timing. But yeah, the A36 is running on One UI 7. What do we get with One UI 7? Well, we get the Now bar, the awkwardly placed Now bar. We get a slightly redesigned home screen. You can now change the size of widgets. Gemini is now the default voice assistant. It wasn't always like that, by the way. And then there are some somewhat new AI features. My favorite will always be Circle to Search. Every phone should have this by now. One really nice thing about the A36 is that because it would be supported for a really long time, it's going to keep getting new features for a really long time. So in theory, this phone could get better and better with every software update. Let's just hope Sammy does that. A lot of people would be happy that Samsung went with a Snapdragon chipset on the A36. They ditched Exynos and went with the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 processor. When compared to the Exynos 1380 of the A35, the 6 Gen 3 is better. Samsung also upgraded the base variant of the A36 from 4 gigs of RAM to 6. I'm using the base variant, the one with 6 gigs, and yeah, its performance has been very satisfactory. Multitasking has been great. Gaming has been pretty good too. You can play your favorite titles at high graphics settings, and the gameplay will be really smooth. But you should also watch out for heating. After you play games for an extended period of time, the phone does start to warm up. That's something to consider. Another thing to consider is camera quality. The A36 has the same rear camera setup as the A35. A 50 megapixel wide sensor, an 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and a 5 megapixel macro sensor. I mostly used the wide sensor when I was taking pictures with this phone. These are some of the shots I took. And yeah, I would say these are pretty good photos. I think the A36 takes really good pictures. The ultra wide camera is as well pretty good. It's not as detailed as the wide camera, of course, but you wouldn't notice that at first glance, which is good. I did not really use that macro sensor, and I don't think most people would. The selfie camera was downgraded from 13 megapixels to 12 megapixels. I don't think anything really changed. I think just like the A35, this takes decent selfies. Let me know what you think of the photo quality of this phone down in the comments. Okay, so this is what the front-facing camera of the Galaxy A36 5G looks like. It's a 12 megapixel sensor, if you remember, and I think for 12 megapixels, this is quite good. I'm actually shooting in 4K 30 FPS, so with the front-facing camera, you can record videos in 4K, and based off of what I'm looking at, I think I like it. It's stabilized and color seems to be quite good. Okay, so now we've switched to the wide camera. Now, unfortunately, I can't see myself, so can't give live commentary, but based off of other videos I've taken with this wide camera, I think it does okay. Sometimes it's a bit too warm, but other than that, I think it does okay. It also shoots in 4K like the selfie camera, and we also get stabilization. So let me know what you guys think of this wide camera, and now we're going to switch to the ultra wide camera. So I just tried to record video with the ultra wide camera and couldn't find the option. So you can't record videos with the ultra wide camera for some reason. The A36 has the same battery size as the A35, 5000 milliamp hours. Ideally, that should be able to last you a whole day. It's a big enough battery size to last you the whole day. But if you're gaming non-stop, yeah, it wouldn't last you the whole day. This would last for about 5, maybe 6 hours. If you're streaming content, something a bit lighter, this would last a little longer. 7, maybe 8 hours. The point is, it all depends on what you're doing on your phone and how often you're doing that thing. The A35 supported 25 watts of wire charging. This supports 45 watts. So charging is significantly faster. In about an hour, this will be fully charged. What's not good is that, like the A35, and I think the A34 as well, we don't get a charger in the box. In fact, we only get a charging cable in the box. The last thing to talk about would be pricing. The A36, 4 months later, is cheaper. On Amazon, it's going for less than $300, and then in Nigeria, it costs less than 500k. The base variant costs 417,000, for now anyway. The Galaxy A36 is a really good phone, and the fact that you can get it cheaper now is also a good thing. But I would also say that this phone is not for everyone. When compared to its predecessor, the A36 isn't that big an upgrade. It's better, it's thinner, lighter, it's got a slightly new design, it's got a better chipset, it's got faster charging, it's better. Just not you should upgrade better. So if you own the A35, I don't recommend you upgrade to this. If you're also someone who's looking for the absolute best spec phone for 400k, I would also not recommend this. Like, it's good, just not the best spec phone for its price. So who would I recommend this phone to? Well, I recommend this phone to those who don't really care about having the best spec phone, but just want something that's good at everything and something that would remain good for a long time, like 4 to 5 years long. Oh, and they also must be okay with not having an SD card slot. Can't forget that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Samsung Galaxy A36 4 months later. Let me know your own thoughts down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.